Hello doers, my name is Jose Ignacio. This video is special since we will do a high-level exploration of how Odoo benefits real-life businesses. Today we're actually going to be taking a look at David's drone business, Airproof. Great name, I know. Anyways, David has given us a full rundown of the business. Our job today is to show David what he needs for success. Here we can see the list of apps we will use for his business use. Each one has been carefully chosen for a different aspect of that business. So with this in mind, let's start with the inventory application. So enough chit chat, let's hop right in. As I mentioned today, this demo will provide a complete overview of David's business. We're going to start with the very first item, the drones. David sells 5 different waterproof drones. And I know a bit about drones, so let's actually open up our inventory application and select products and then products from the top heading. All right, so David's first 4 drones happen to be here. So let me show you what our products will look like. Let's begin. And I mean, we could select the new button up at the top, but what if we did something to save us time and select, say, our drone 4 over here, select our gear icon up here at the top, and then we just select duplicate. Well, would you look at that? Now, this happens to be our little secret, but we have now just made a duplicate product that now becomes drone 5. And then we can actually leave our sales option selected right there, but let's change a few little things. Okay, so the toggle for our product type here happens to be goods. And that's goods because we are selling a physical item that we track inventory for, and you can see our option right there. So the invoicing policy, again, it's going to stay on ordered quantities for now. And for our sales price, we can set this to, in fact, I think it's time for us to change this. I think this one should be $499.99, just to give the illusion of some sort of discount. That will make it kind of easy right there. Below this, we could put a cost, which is essential if we plan to track manufacturing and reporting expenses. Then let's head on over to inventory. Over here, we must select a route on the inventory tab. Since David says that drones are manufactured in-house, we have our manufacturer route. And they are only made as they come, so we also have replenish on order. David needs to save some money. And that's one of the more interesting tidbits about David's drones. And another interesting thing is that he mentioned to me that he sells accessories along with the drones. So wouldn't it be nice to have accessories appear with the products? To give those potential buyers that sweet little nudge towards a higher order total. So if we actually hop into our sales tab right over here, you can already see it inside of our upsell and cross sell section. Let's go with accessory products right here. And which one do we want to appear? Let's select a nice drone case. So the nice thing about this option is that we can control which products appear alongside our listing to determine what the end user will be recommended at checkout. This option is handy if you offer combination products that can benefit from accessory products. In this case, a case is a perfect combo for an expensive drone. We wouldn't want it to break in our backpacks now, would we? No, that's the answer. Let's select one more accessory just because I'm feeling spicy like this float kit, and perfect. So with this out of the way, our additional prone product can now coexist with its friends. And we've completed David's product offering so that we can move on. But I'm sure you have a question over here. Now, you notice I had MTO. If you don't see that, well, you're going to want to head out from here and then head into, well, actually, you want to stay in inventory. Go to configuration and settings. Scroll down, make sure multi-step routes is selected over here. Now, if we go over here and we select our nice little warehouse, you'll see everything is fine. But once again, if you see our routes, there is my MTO one. Now, if we go up to the top and we select archived, you should see it right here. Once you unarchive it, it'll appear as an option. All right. So we know what the end product looks like, but David is particular about his products. Even though they have silly names like Drone 1 to 5 for this demo, they each represent distinct product offerings manufactured with similar yet different parts. So for now, let's manually save, just out of paranoia. You never know. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So since they're different but similar product offerings, I think it's time for us to open up our MRP application. So we're going to go to manufacturing now. All right, perfect. And then this time inside of here, we're going to select products and, ooh, we're going to bill of materials. Baited you right there. Okay, so here is our list of our bill of materials or BoMs for my acronym lovers. Let's open up the BoM for our Drone 1 product right there. And do you see our components tab over here? Make a mental note of the first few that are selected right here. I'm going to go ahead and select these right arrows over here at the top just to go through our other BoMs, and you're going to notice something. You're just going to start to notice. Pay attention here. We scroll to the next one. Upgrade. Drone 2 has a 4K camera. And then now we have a laser on drone 3. And drone 4 has a LiDAR sensor. It's all the same, but it's also slightly not the same. Now, did you spot the difference? I kind of messed that reveal up. But to save time, we're actually now on drone 4. So we're going to open up our action menu up at the top. And we're going to select duplicate. I do this all the time. Okay, now on this duplicate page, let's click to select our product as the new Drone 5 that we just made right there. Because we don't need two BoMs for the same product in our case. Maybe you do. Okay, then moving down over here to the Components tab. Remember, these are all similar yet slightly different. This is our most souped up one. So we're going to select Add a Line over here. And we're going to search for the landing gear, the flagship landing gear. Now we have our difference. David's final drone uses an additional item not found on drone 4, thus differentiating them all now. Airproof manufactures the drones as ordered, but keeps some stock on hand. We're going to cover how they handle that distribution in a second. First, let's actually jump really quickly to drone 5 by using the internal link that we have over here next to the line on the product. Okay, so back at the product page, I want you to now head into our sales tab. Back over here we go. Okay, so now that we're inside of here, I need to make sure that you activate the is published for our e-commerce shop option right there. You'll know you did everything right if the globe up at the top is now a very nice green right there. And let's actually go ahead and click that real quick. Now, Airproof is a special company because it also makes bespoke goods. This means it prefers the old school cool direct sales method, but it doesn't shy away from modern technology and has a touch of e-commerce. So let's actually select the shop over here, and would you look at that? Here we can see our product offerings. This is a pretty sweet shop with a nice page with all the drones that lack pictures because I forgot the pictures. We got to take those at some point. We'll see what David wants. But here is a nice Jose Ignacio pro tip. If you don't happen to see your product listed here, remember that box that we talked about that is published in the product overview under the sales tab, like you saw me do? That's why that feature was so important. Let's click on the product that we actually happen to have published recently, Drone 5. Now we're going to add it to carts. We're going to go to our cart and would you look at that? You'll notice we can add accessory products just because we set that up earlier. But enough eShop talk. Let's see how Airproof decides who to make cold calls and sales pitches to. So I think it's time for us to go to our contact page over here. And it's time for us to change this out. Okay, now we're going to select edit in the top right corner over here. Now, once that loads up, this happens to actually be Odoo's built-in web editor. It may look intimidating with a whole bunch of stuff over here, but I'm going to show you why it's closer to something like Legos than, say, hardcore coding. On this page, on the right-hand side, we can drag and drop different building blocks that shape how our website will appear. Now, whenever you struggle with design decisions, just remember you could just do that, like what I'm doing right there. And look at that. It's going to ask me what I want. Let's just put a map. All right, beautiful. All right, look at that. Everything was easy to do. But I'm talking about this form because remember, we're talking about cold calls. So we're going to scroll back up to the top and we're going to click anywhere inside of it. And now we have the option to customize the aspects of the form. It's auto taking us over there. So under the one that's labeled as form for the heading, I want you to take a close look because right now, this is where we would change our options. It's our action that we need to change. An action is an automated step that will occur inside of Odoo. It is set right now to send an email, but what if I told you that you could set it to create an opportunity auto magically? We can actually select that from our nice little list right there. Look at that. Now the form, when finished, is going to do that. And we can even narrow it down to a specific sales team or salesperson if we would like to filter them even further. I'm going to leave them blank and keep the form open to our entire team. So once that we're done with that, we're going to select save over here up at the top. And just like that, we're done. All right, now I actually just realized that that lead could appear as completely random, so it's better to actually just do it with you guys to watch this. Jose, real name for my name, phone number. We're going to select that classic fake number for YouTube, and then our email, example.com. Company. Ooh, it's a requirement, not Odoo. Subject, I love a drone. I am a picky person, but very wealthy. Would you look at that? We have our real human done and submitted. And just like that, our lead has been created. So let's go look at that. So with our form filled out, our website visitors can turn into leads. So it's time to open up one of them. So to start, we're going to open up our CRM application and select that very real lead from earlier that we filled out. Okay, so these person would happen to want a drone. In fact, they'd love one. They've let us know. So that we can actually start our quotation from right here by selecting new quotation up at the top. I want to make a quick note that Airproof has a complex pricing strategy that revolves around pricing differences during certain times of the year, the customer type, and even the products themselves. Odoo lets you work with all of those different pricing strategies right out of the box. So let's start by adding our product. Let's assume this person wants a drone 4. I'm going to add a nice section just to make this look extra nice. So we're going to drag that up. See, I like making it look all pretty. We're going to do one more called accessories, just so somebody can have that. All right, we're going to add our nice little product. Let's assume they wanted a float kit right there. Perfect. Ooh, all of that was all said and done. Now, the whole quote looks good, but that took a little bit, didn't it? Another easy way around this is to set up quotation templates as a basis for these orders. If I go up here to quotation template, let's select this mysterious one that I made earlier. Would you look at that? Now that you'll notice we ended up with the same drone and our nice little extra accessory section. And since it's a template, we can add our own little tidbits of other things right there. And it's a nice time-saving option if you sell packages that frequently go together, but don't want to spend all day writing up these quotations and section lines, line by line by line by line. You get the idea. You can even, if you wanted to, select a price list up at the top. And that's even more customization. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what is a price list? Well, this option is suitable for managing stuff such as holiday sales. Like, let's assume that promotional pricing occurs during certain periods of the year, or maybe there happens to be specific times when pricing goes up. It could be pricing percentages for discounts or premiums. For our example, the one that we have is holiday pricing, which increases the prices by 10% by if we assume some sort of end of year winter holiday sale. And once we do this and we update our pricing, as you'll notice, December doesn't really change. But in July, would you look at that? We happen to have our summer pricing at a very solid extra income for us. Okay, now then when it's time for somebody to pay, we actually have our nice little payment terms right there. Now, Airproof takes a 50% down payment due when products actually are shipped per the invoicing policy. Now, this option allows Airproof to cover its margins from not so nice customers who may say, they lost their package. And on the note of packages, how does Airproof ship these bad boys out? Well, let's click on Add Shipping in the bottom right corner. And remember, we are using FedEx. We had our order weight autofill right here. You can also manually enter it. Mine autofilled because Drone 4 happened to actually have the weight already input for the product. And let's get our rates. Perfect. Now, if you happen to actually have this fail right here, remember to double check that your company has an address and phone number and a zip code, which is important for shipping, and that your customer has a zip code, or else you might get an error. Let's add this right there. Everything looks pretty good. Now this looks really nice, and now the warehouse team can use this information to print out the labels when it's time to ship the drone after manufacturing it. So with all of that done, I think it's time for us to confirm this out, then send it by email just to be extra nice. Send that on out, just in case. Okay, and let's create our invoice. And remember, this is a down payment for 50%. We're going to create our draft and confirm it. And we're going to send that bad boy out as well. Perfect. Now, we've sold our drone. Okay, so let's assume that they've paid us our first 50%, and it's time to get our hammers out again and finally make this drone. So to start, we're actually going to go out of here and open up the inventory application. I could see we have that delivery order for the final product, but I also notice we have one to manufacture down here. Now, if we open this up and check our availability, I'm noticing that I have a component status of not available. And we can tell that something is missing because, would you look at that? All of these are green except our 4K camera for our product availability. But don't fret. We can actually get it immediately by selecting operations and replenishment. And would you look at that? If I select our 4K camera, we can replenish our order right there. And just like that. Now let's assume between our nice little segue that we happen to have heard that our products were received. What do we do with that? Well, we're going to go over to purchase and we'll see our nice little 4K camera has arrived. We're going to confirm our order and receive it in and then validate it into our inventory. Now, it's finally time to go back to our main dashboard and open up manufacturing. And I happen to see that we have a work order that we got to start working on. Oh my goodness, this is perfect. But I'm going to go to manufacturing orders just to give myself a little bit easier of a nice little overview. Okay, we're going to select our work orders. We're going to start this out. We're going to pretend everything is good to go. We're going to mark this as done. And we're ready to go with all of this. So we're going to select produce all. Whew! That took us a whole lot. Now, once that this is manufactured, we can actually head back to we're going to head over to the sales order. And now we go to our delivery order. And it's finally time for us to print our label right here. If we select the option, it's going to bust that open for us in a nice little PDF. We can affix them to the box and send this little drone on its merry way to the customer. Now that we got word that this drone is headed out, we're just going to validate this real quick, finish everything off from our order because it's finally time for us to head back over to sales because I think we're owed a little bit of money. Now we're going to open up our previous sales order right there. Perfect. So within this one, I think it's time for us to create our final invoice for the second half of our payment. So this one can actually just be a regular one. We're going to create our draft, confirm it out. I'm going to send that out, send it out as an email, and time for us to get paid. So once that you're done with here, you could follow the steps, create a payment. Everything is set right there. Depending on your banking options, you may have a different setup than the one that you just saw. So with this out of the way, we are finally done. The accounting bits are always done automatically, so we don't have to guess or keep track manually. Now you'll also notice that Odoo even remembered we already had been paid the first half between each of those transactional stages. This traceability allows you to keep moving forward with your business without keeping tabs on down payments and overdue invoices. Speaking of traceability, what about if you have an intern? How does Odoo work for them? So to set a limitation on a user, so let's say your intern doesn't delete important stuff by accident, we have to actually hop on out of here and into our settings application. Okay, so here we are. Inside of the settings app, in this first area, we're going to select manage users. Now, you notice inside of here, we have intern. Let's open them up. On this page, please direct your eyes to all the options inside of our Access Rights tab. Here, you can limit what specific users can and cannot see. This can be helpful to prevent headaches from a new user messing up sales orders or going into applications and changing things they shouldn't. The intern at Airproof is only managing their own documents, as you can tell, for sales and other areas, and they're restricted as well. And on that note, they upload leads into CRM, so they shouldn't have as administrative rights for CRM or MRP or any of those apps. And you can actually see that with the options to swap over. But in our case, we have them set as user only. This is essential for any business since it could change your employee level while letting you know who uses what application. Please, and this is something I have to stress, check the documentation on this. It'll save you headaches for access rights and user groups. And that way you can learn more about that feature. So finally, with all of this taken care of, it is time to cover how Airproof looks back at their business to get a 360 view of everything that happens daily. Let's actually open up, this is a fun app, Dashboards. So inside of Dashboards, you can tell we are in the earlier stages of Airproof's business in Odoo because the data is a bit barren. You can see a few things like orders, but I'm going to tell you one thing. They are giants in their wake. Jokes aside, this application is one of my favorites in Odoo because of its instant access to access all of your different metrics. We can immediately see sales data, such as We have monthly sales, we have top quotations and other things, and even revenue over the past 90 days if we wanted to. And you can see this up at the top. You have options to select specific products if you needed to, customers, the sources, sales teams, and salespersons. That's pretty nice. But let's assume that you wanted to go backwards in time and do everything. Well, you can also go from here and select even the last 3 years of data. So these 9 underlined texts that you just saw me hover up at the top are clickable as you saw. They will enable you to break down the data further, like selecting, as I said, a specific salesperson and your specific sales team as well. And that allows you to see their invoices as well as also their largest orders that they saw. So from this left-hand panel over here, we could see that our parameters can change depending on the app that we pick. If we select CRM in this case, leads, we can see that our nice little data has different ones, and our 9 searchable items up at the top happen to have new ones, such as the lost reason. So we have 2 that are very important that I see here. We have things such as rates and revenue. Those 2 are very important for smaller businesses since every lead and bit of revenue can make or break a quarter. I could keep going on and on, honestly, about the different apps and what you can see for each one, invoicing, our pipeline, and all that stuff. But I can confidently tell you, you can find any metric for anything through the dashboards application. But on that note, let's talk about the best thing for last, and that is, well, you've made it this far. Please tell me you've also had a snack or two because we're going to talk about configuration. I'd like to first make a note that there are no special customizations for this Odoo instance. Everything that you have seen today was out of the box. Everything was single takes. However, we did make multiple setting selections in a few apps to get everything perfect. To see how I set up anything you saw in today's video, let's actually go out of here and open up our settings application. Okay, we're going to select CRM from the sidebar over here. Now, I suggest turning on leads over here for the first section. This option allows you to add a qualification step to your opportunities so you don't get bombarded with a billion cold leads that are just opportunities that might be not so great. Among these features, you will find other options that can help you further customize your CRM experience, but this is the option we selected today for our demo. Next, let's select sales over here. Now on this page, the discounts, prices, and promotions options, as you can tell right here, were toggled. The pricing section was necessary since all these options we selected allowed us to set multiple prices per product and automate discounts and premiums. The discounts option will directly enable salespeople to give discounts on order lines, and that allows them to have more flexibility while working with clients. Moving down the list, you can actually see we selected quotation templates, and you saw me talk about that earlier when I made the drone 4 template appear. And you saw me do that instantaneously. I highly recommend this option for any company that sells a large variety of goods that could benefit from being bundled together, or if you happen to have a ton of SKUs. On the note of order lines, you saw me, and we actually had our shipping appear right there on the order lines. To utilize that feature, you also have to go down to delivery methods being enabled and your specific connectors, depending on which shipping provider you're using. Ours was FedEx, so naturally we selected FedEx shipping connector. This was how I could have it appear when I selected add shipping earlier in the tutorial and how I was able to calculate the rates. So let's actually end our configuration by clicking manufacturing over here from our nice little sidebar. So we used our work orders feature here to process our operations at specific work centers since the drones are made in-house. This feature is essential since it allows you to set up either fixed durations for particular actions, and that's for the steps to manufacture your product, or use timers as you saw me do and then calculate the duration finishing a product in real time. Both of those allow you to measure your work center's efficiency while keeping traceability for working hours down to the very second. Now, the shop floor feature below also gives you access to the shop floor application while allowing you to manage manufacturing steps via a nice GUI interface. Whew! That was a lot. David owes me a drone for all this trouble. I'm just kidding, sort of. In fact, we've actually explored how so many different applications work together to provide a worthwhile solution for your manufacturing and sales needs. For more information on any of the parts of this video, please refer to the documentation or to some of the videos that I'm going to link below. Please comment below if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or sponsorships for Jose Ignacio. With that aside, grab a snack, grab a whole meal. You've earned it.